good having you there.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Yes. So we reconvene our meeting at 5:59. It's Mary Beth made a motion and Brian second. Right now, we're going to go right into public comment. Ms. Boardman, did we receive any public comments?
We did not.
Okay. And do we have any comments from the floor? Okay. You would stand, please state your address, and you have 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay. Hi, I'm Angela Waring. My address is 1247 7th Avenue in Waterloo. And for this meeting tonight, I speak as a taxpayer, a parent with 2 children, both at the elementary and junior senior high school. I'm a graduate from here, class of '89. And I'm also the daughter of a former Worthy School Board president. First, I'd like to thank the board for reading my email that I sent to you last month. Unfortunately, since then, the direction my family needs to go in for the education for my daughter Fallon has been decided. I believe for the safety and emotional welfare of Fallon, along with the many others that we know of, will be attending LaSalle. She has her shadow day tomorrow. It's unfortunate that the climate at the junior senior high school has changed into one of fear. Fear of fellow students, fear of what their parents may do. I understand school environments along with some societies have changed and are going through similar situations, but I don't care about them. I live here in Waterloo and I graduated from here. My daughter Olivia is a senior, and if she wasn't graduating this year, she too would be pulled. It is shocking the stories that she comes home with about the fights, the disrespect, the repeat offenders. It's all just so sad. Yes, we have amazing students, but they are suffering and they are leaving. I asked the board, how many students left in 2022, 2023 for another school? How many students that have left still live in Waterloo? How many students that have left have parents that are employed by our school district? How many students have left since September 2023 to November 2023? Mr. House of LaSalle Admissions stated during our open house that there are 7 to 8 open applications in process for Waterloo students, and that Fallon is number 9. I asked the board to talk to the students that have left our school and ask, why did you leave? I asked the board to talk to the parents and why they don't want their children here at Waterloo. I also asked the board what steps are being taken to ensure safety and a positive classroom and school climate for our children to learn in so that they aren't leaving in the manner that they are now. And I want nothing more for my Fallon to be a cannoneer, which she will not be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? Okay. So with that, Mr. Mento, we will ask you to provide us with the presentation on the Evolve.
Okay, so Evolve came about in the spring of last year, and we got together with the superintendent, Mrs. Webster, the principal, and several other people were involved, guidance counselors, were involved in trying to figure out what we could do with a select set of students who needed some additional assistance. And it wasn't working well for them in this particular environment. Hence, Evolve. So what I'm going to do is show you a little bit about what's going on down there. We're going to take a peek into our new world, and it's not without its road bumps. It's not like we took the students out, but their problems still follow them. Then we went to our first cooking class. So what we discovered when we were doing the cooking class, get some hands-on skills. We started with breakfast. We were trying to do things that students could do themselves later on. On this particular day, we were doing French toast. What we did find out of the 10 students who came that morning on time to actually cook the breakfast, only 2 of them had ever cracked an egg before. So just the idea of cracking an egg was a new experience. And then we had Quasar here became the griddle man. He decided that he was the flipper. We had DeKerns. He said he was a promised cook from long, long ago. He knew how to do the eggs, so he was working on some eggs. We had Bree, which I didn't take a picture of, but Bree was actually in charge of making scrambled eggs on the side, learning how to do without burning them or getting them brown, and she actually did a very good job, much better than I can do. I had to microwave my eggs. We had Stacy participating that day. She's really good with the faces. You'll see several faces during this time. She really gets into it. We had Mason learning how to do cracking some eggs over there. So what I can tell you about the cooking part, we have evolved from cooking some things to moving to lunches starting in November. So they did a couple of lunches so far. Our big lunch will be tomorrow where we do some Thanksgiving. We invited the families to come in so that families will be part of this. This will be our second big family meeting. We had a big family meeting in September. But what's been happening is we've been leaving them other items like breakfast items. So there'll be like 2 dozen of eggs, a big package of cheese, potatoes, chicken fingers, macaroni. And what they've been doing is cooking in the morning and making their own hot breakfast. They don't always like the cold breakfast that we're sending up to them. So they've been making things that they learned how to cook. They've been making breakfast burritos for themselves or scrambled eggs and some bacon. Not everybody's cooking, but there is a select set that will go up and cook, and they'll cook for others if they want it, and they don't know how to cook it, or they're not really feeling it. And I think that was great, that this is kind of where I wanted it to go, and I see it's heading in the right direction. Again, cooking's not for everybody. We try to get everybody involved. We also had a day where somebody went up and said, you know what, I think we could use something, and Edwin went up and made this huge vat of homemade macaroni and cheese that was delicious. And I don't even know that we had enough ingredients to do that up there, but he found them in the refrigerator and he made this thing, and everybody partook of it last week. I can't even say the right word, but anyway, they all ate it and they enjoyed it, and that's the whole what I'm trying to tell you. So we're going to continue to do that and leave stuff for them to make their breakfast and things like that as we've now moved on to other items. So we're going to do turkey tomorrow. The turkey is actually coming from the kitchen because we don't have enough oven space. But we're going to be making pies, making collard greens because they asked for those. I tried to get them to do green beans because I thought it would be easier. They said no green beans, no yams, none of that. Mashed potatoes and gravy, some stuffing, and they're also making apple crisp. So it should be interesting, and everybody knows to get there early because we got to start cooking some of this early because Thanksgiving takes a long time to cook. We all know how that works.
What time do we show up?
You show up at 1 o'clock. Glad you asked. So if you're around, please stop in. It'll be at the Civic Center. We'll be putting the tables out into the next to the kitchen, which is in the gym area on the second floor. So we'll be eating there. We're expecting some teachers to come, administrators will be coming, you guys are all welcome to come too. Again, 1 o'clock will be our time to have Thanksgiving.
So in the last 2 months, just because I found this mind-blowing sorry, Kirsten, when Kirsten shared this with us at our steering committee, but in the last 2 months, we had 10 out of 18 students that had never cracked an egg before. We take that for granted. I had my daughter sitting on our kitchen counter at 6 months old. I did a cooking show over COVID for the elementary students, like 10 out of 18 students. And tomorrow they're going to cook Thanksgiving dinner for their families. Like it's just, they've grown substantially, maybe not in yoga, but in other areas. So I don't want to take that for granted.
No, and I think that doing it themselves, saying, hey, could you get me some eggs? And we're out of bacon, and we like the bacon. I said, you don't even eat meat. Well, I eat the bacon. So they make some exceptions to themselves until they have some rules. But the nice thing is that they're doing it, and they will make enough for their teachers, or if there's sometimes Mrs. Chan comes in or Mr. Bradley comes over and they, hey, we have that, the extra bacon, and do you want a burrito? Do you want some whatever? So they'll ask everybody if they want something and move on. So we are trying to do some academics because that's important in the school. We have a couple of English classes. This was back in the fall where they were making things that motivate them. So they had to research some motivational sayings and then say which ones they liked, pick one. We have them actually on a wall so we can refer back to, you remember the day that you said this motivates you, let's read it again because we need that motivation today because it seems to be slipping. So we keep going back to that. We have expanded, they don't all like to be photographed, and you'll see a lot of hoods coming by. But we've expanded so that we're in 2 rooms, sometimes 3 rooms, plus we use the kitchen room. We don't all stay in the same room. Then we're working on math and science or online. The math teacher comes down for some of these kids. The other 3 classes are actually online, and the science is all online for everybody. So they will use their computers. Something I need to point out is a smile. If you knew Quasar, apparently he was not somebody that would be walking around this building smiling in the past. You catch a lot more smiles. I try to catch some smiles when I'm filming. They don't all like that. We do have some relaxation in sofas. Sometimes it's hard to get them off the sofa. We're still working on that. We have Miss Chan there. She's doing math class. Everybody's working in their groups on their math programs. Those of you who know DeKearns, that's a nice shot of DeKearns. We've also explored some health. We're doing personality traits, life balance that goes along with the motivation at the beginning of the year. So our first couple of months were really about exploring ourselves. We now have Dennis Lane coming down. He started last week, so he'll actually be picking up the health module. We were working on stress this week, and that was very interesting. We played a game with dice. They didn't know why until the end, and then they realized, oh, this was very stressful because we were trying to beat each other, and it was just getting louder and louder and more stressful. And so anyway, we're trying to do things that are very hands-on so that they're more engaged with what we're teaching them. They do have some free time, so in between, sometimes they just need to go up and we have 5 minutes and we'll say, go on up, you can play basketball for 5 minutes and come on back down. So they'll pop upstairs, get some frustrations out and come on back. We also have applied English. We were working on Naviance and putting our stuff into Naviance. We've recently done some how to fill out a job application. Some students felt that they needed a job, so that was a good time because the holidays are hiring. So we're working on how to fill out applications. We've had multiple applications because sometimes we make mistakes and we have to fill them out. And what goes in these things? What did we say for experience? And who are my references? So we spent a lot of time in the last 2 weeks talking about that. We did go to the pep rally, and Amir is right here. So we made a sign, which you can kind of see way in that last picture. And this is the main core teacher is Mrs. Han Conley. She changed, so if you knew her by hand, she's now Conley. And that's her in the middle. But we were all there to support Amir because he was on the football team. Oh, so I did promise them that we'd be going on field trips to do some academics, but out in the real world. So last Thursday, we had our first trip, and we went out to the New York State Military Museum, and then we went to the state park to collect pine cones and to taste the water. What I found out is, even though we had 11 students with us on this day, some of the kids are hiding behind the others because they did not want to be filmed again. But this is what I have, so this is what I'm showing you. So the first thing is we have this Vietnam vet, and they really liked him for the people that liked the event, because he spent a lot of time talking about the Declaration of Independence and spent most of the time talking about why people get into wars. And we are promised here life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and not every country has life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness is really an anomaly just to us here. And it says it. And it was declared it way back when we formed as a country. And that was why he put his life on the line. And they spent a lot of time talking about why you put your life on the line, and it all goes back to this. And I thought for some kids, it just really connected with them. And they thought, coming from a Vietnam vet, that like, my God, he was in the trenches, and he talked about his actual role, and he was in charge of the phones and getting MASH units to come in and take the injured away. And we talked about how technology has changed, and we went from the beginning. We only focused on 3 wars because we were only there for an hour and a half. So we only focused on the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and World War I. But those were, 3 interesting times, 3 interesting aspects of war and what happened in them, and how technology changed, how food rations had changed, how recruitment had changed. So for those who were listening, and they all had really interesting questions to ask. So, I think that everybody gleaned a little something out of it that they'll take out for the rest of their life. And for some of these students, I want you to know, when we talked to them, they had not been allowed on a field trip since elementary school, and some had never been allowed on a field trip. So for them, they didn't care where we were going. They were going to come with us anyway because they just wanted to go on a field trip and be allowed to go on a field trip. And you think about that was their main goal, was like they just wanted to go on a field trip, and they were so excited that we invited them. So then we went someplace that we needed to go because we were collecting pine cones. We needed to get out in nature for a little bit, and because they told me they don't walk very much. So we went to the park. And we visited 4 water samples. And if you've ever been to Saratoga, because they had not, I started them out with this one, which tastes like Nichols, and they were very thrilled with that one. So then we talked about, how the Native Americans had this, and then people came, and this was a big buzz of why Saratoga was here, and that each of the water has different concentrations of metal and healing properties. And so we tried some more healing properties. We went to a couple more. And you can see, like I said, Bree has the best faces. We got the other guy over there. And we tried a second one. We actually tried this is the third one. The second one was actually a state seal. So there was 3 guys with all their jugs around it, filling up, and they're like, "Oh, why would you take this water home?" No, the Nichols stole mine. And they said, "No, you guys got to try this one." So the guy moved his jug, and they went down. They go, "Oh, this actually one tastes good." And like, "Yeah, they don't all taste like that one." And he goes, "Did you go to any others?" I said, "No." "Are we going to go to more?" I said, "Sure, we're going to go to more. Let's walk over here." So we kind of walked around. We got 2 more. We got some eggs in there. We had the sulfur one. They really liked that one. This is the sulfur one. So, we kept moving on, and we had a third one after that. And then we tried to have everybody be seen, but of course, nobody wanted to look at me at that time, so that was the shot we got. So anyway, we ended our day. I came home with 11 people. I left with 11 people, so it was the same amount, which is always good on a field trip. And I think that, and I know this for a fact, that no matter what happens with any of them between now and graduation, that they will always remember this day that we had a field trip. I'm gonna cry. In the back of the bus on the way home, I get bus sick, so I'm sitting in the front just holding it together. I'm like, "Don't throw up, don't throw up." And they're all sitting in the back of the bus because they're kids, and Miss Conley's back there, and Allison's back there, Mrs. McKee's back there. And I'm sitting in the front of the bus, and all I can hear is the laughter. And saying little, "Oh, you look so sick when you took that swig of that. That was horrible. I know. I was feeling it. It was so tipsy." It's water. There's nothing going on here. But they were laughing, and they're not even all friends. And they were like having such a good time. And I wish I could have just taken an audio of that for you, because I was saying like they were kids, and that's a good thing. They got this experience, and they'll always remember that they tested this water, no matter what happens in the future. Okay, so back to this. We have some program staff, and we have a lot of people. They don't all come. Some are virtual, and some of the virtuals do pop down in the morning or in the evening or whenever they have a free period just to check in with the kids, and the kids like seeing everybody. The administrators go down on a more regular basis in rotation, so they're all the time. Okay, we have some program goals. Well, these are all the things that we're working on, and sometimes we've had little kerfuffles, and we've had to work through those kerfuffles. And we've spent a lot of time talking about our feelings and how we got to this point. And we have all these things that we sign, and we make new rules as the old rules aren't working for us. And we're keeping, again, that's why it's called evolve. We keep evolving into something new every day. It's like a roller coaster ride. So some days I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's working. They're making their breakfast." And the next day I'm like, "Oh my God, they could just get along with each other and do some homework." So every day is a roller coaster for me and probably all of them. But it's been very interesting. We are working on all these things, the increased cooperation. They're not cooperating every day, but we're getting there. Increased academic skills, being part of the community. We're still working on all these things. But I wanted to tell you this, because I looked at the report cards already as of tonight, right? So I can tell you that every single kid out of the 18 have increased their attendance for this time from what they had last year. So that's a win. So even if they're not getting all their work done, and they're not always being cooperative, they are actually attending. And that's the first step. You have to get there, right? So we're getting them there. The second thing I want to say is we actually had 2 that had perfect attendance. They had some leaks, but I decided to let those go. And then we have 2 that have perfect attendance for this quarter. We had 6 students with only 1 to 5 absences. And if you know these kids, the reason why they're down there is because they weren't coming to school. And when they were in school, they were just wandering around, never going to class. We had 4 students with 6 to 10, 4 students with 11 to 15, and only 2 students that had over 15 absences. And so I think that we were doing really well with that. So that to me is a win. So I'm going to chalk that up to they're making their own breakfast and they're coming to school more often. And this is the big one. We had 18 students. we ended up with 4 on honor roll and 5 on high honor roll. And these kids have never made honor roll or a high honor roll since they've been in high school. So they don't know that yet. You got the first sneak preview. That's 50% of the kids that made honor roll. There's 6 kids that lost honor roll only because they were failing one class. They just didn't get their math in or their science in. And so that was a little disappointing because that would have been 6 more that would have made honor roll because their grades were that good that they could have if they had just done those one more class. But they didn't. And the lowest average we actually had, even with the people that didn't do their homework, was 68. So even the lowest average with a failure was still better than what they ever had in the past. So I just want you to know that, it's up and down. It's not perfect science. We're struggling with the morning counseling. Not everybody wants to go. And we keep saying we're having parent meetings saying part of this is the counseling. It's not just a new location. It's not just new curriculum. It's not just the breakfast. It's not just having your parents over for lunch. It's not just the field trips. It's also doing the counseling. You got to work on yourself because part of this, you're carrying you with you no matter where you go. So we got to get to the bottom of this so that you can be successful later in life. Some are getting it. Some are not getting it. We'll get it maybe tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
So, let's see, I think I have one more thing for you, which is thank you. And that's it. Do you have any questions? I'm sorry I took up so much time.
No, it's okay. I mean, I think for me, you answered some of the questions I was gonna ask, like about attendance and how their grades are and things like that. And I agree that, the opportunities that you're giving them, to be people in the real world is very important. And so I think that's great that they're able to learn how to cook and, that they're learning ways to figure out who they are and how to handle things and stuff like that, and maybe in an environment where there's like less people so that they can do that easier.
There was one person from that long list of support staff and staff, and that is Kirsten, who has been dedicated to making sure that this program was built and is getting every and any resource that it needs. I joked the other day, we had a meeting with all of the staff during our superintendent's conference day that, we often refer to Miss Hand as like the glue, the mama bear that's holding all of them together. She's the one teacher that is there all the time, guiding them through all of their classes. I really think that it's Kirsten who's the mama bear, and she's really the one that is kind of pushing where this is going and guiding them, and their success is her and our success, but their failure, she's taking to heart as she's crying herself to sleep some nights. So, I think that there's a true testament to the work that she's doing to be supportive and make sure that this is hitting the ground running. And I think that it's just the word evolve. It's evolving, the program's evolving. What we see in store for this in the future could grow. I think we had to start small, but I think there's a lot to this. I'll go off on a soapbox. We've returned from COVID, and if you go in many of our classrooms, they look the same way they did before COVID. And we have to continue to push for opportunities like this, changing the way that kids are learning, because it's not the same. Kids aren't learning the same. They have technology, they have tools. We need to continue creating these kinds of opportunities. So we're headed in that direction.
Thank you, Mrs. Mento, and for the staff for actually giving a hoot about students who wouldn't have the opportunity otherwise. Much appreciated.
They're not happy when we go to the house and pull them out of bed in the morning.
All right.
Do the students have, just out of curiosity, especially talking about like the cooking, and do they have the opportunity to participate in VOTEC?
Not right now.
We have, I mean, because like you talked about cooking a lot, and I know that's one of the VOTEC programs, and there's other ones that as well.
They could go to
trade, and
they could
do
go.
they have that
They could
opportunity?
They could leave this program and go to that instead.
But they couldn't do it from the Evolve program. Gotcha.
You wouldn't want to tie up a spot at a ball for a student that is spending most of their time.
Right, at both,
At both,
yeah.
So part of the reason why there's food is because we know that, well, there's math in food, there's creativity in food, there's self-efficiency later on, you can cook for yourself and your family, right?
Well, I was just using that as a.
No, but
example, 'cause
I'm
that's
saying
one of
the reason-
VOTEC programs, but any of the VOTEC programs that they have.
A couple think they wanna go to cosmetology next year, and they certainly can go look at that, but then they'd be part of cosmetology, they wouldn't be part of this.
Right.
So we have to evolve into that, but right now, the reason why nobody got into cosmetology that was in this program or any vocational program, which is why they ended up here and not in another vocation. We have 3 kids that are trying to graduate at the end of the year, so we're working through that with them. We have a bunch of kids that are in 10th grade, but they think they're 12th grade, and they're not really yet, so we have some catch up to do with them. And then we have some 9th and 10th graders that will be maybe 11th graders by the end of the year if they keep working hard at what they're doing. So we're in flux with a lot of different classes and a lot of different skills. And we hope to expose them to some things coming up in the near future, because we did do an interest inventory, so we know we need to get some guest speakers and stuff in for various things based on what they actually ask for, plus some things that we see in them that they don't see in themselves. I'm definitely having a lawyer in there because I think that probably 16 out of 18 are budding lawyers, because they like to argue so well and they can do a good job of it. So anyway, so I'm not sure that will mix with this, but, we could see, maybe they won't need this. Maybe some of them, I mean, not the graduates, but maybe some of the other ones will feel so empowered that they could feel they can go to BOCES and go back to regular classes for 3 periods, and that will be their new program because they've gotten to that level. That would be the goal.
Maybe that could be a field trip to go over and tour the CTE building.
They actually,
do
a couple
have
of them are
4
going.
students next on the 28th coming up here for the trades presentation.
Yeah.
So there are 4 seniors that are interested in trades.
That's more apprenticeship programs out in past graduation, but a couple of them
Yeah.
were going to like the cosmetology school.
And when we have
that
the
they
college visits, they have the opportunity to come up here during the school day and tour the colleges. It's very nice.
There is a CTE visit as well in the spring, so if the students are prepared to return, they could always go to that as well. I just wanted to say that I agree, I echo everything Dr. Stevens says about Mrs. Demento. They've also created a family down there. So if you think about your own families and the Skerfuffles, it makes perfect sense, right? They are smiling, kids, Quasar, you mentioned, they've never seen smile around here. And it's creating that opportunity for them. We've had 2 students return to the district to be a part of this program, and they're both doing very, very well. So it's nice to see the camaraderie, even though it's not going to be 100% of the time, but it's a beautiful thing to go down and see. And one of them has told me, I'm not going back to that. I'm going to stay here till I graduate. But that's okay. That's the environment that works for them. So I'm right there with you, Kirsten. I cry every time you talk about it because it's amazing.
I don't want to belabor this point, but I do have Mr. Emerson here, and he's actually one of my online teachers. Did you want to add anything?
So one of the things that's interesting is that the students, they participate online. So I have the Chromebook set up, and so I have 18 students in the room, and then I have 4 who are online with us. And they participate just like they're in the class with me. When they speak, the whole class listens. When somebody in class speaks, the students at Evolve listen. It's almost seamless on how well it works. And the kids all the students in this was government class had a great first quarter. All the students passed. They're doing a tremendous job. I'm just thrilled and thank Mr. Mento and just everyone for putting this together. And I'm looking forward to lunch tomorrow. I know that, but no, the kids are doing great. And there is one of the things I wanted to say, there's no stigma or anything like that. The kids in class don't think, oh, well, those kids. They're our students, our friends, they're in our classroom, we're all one. So there is no divide, and that's nice to see as well.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any? Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Okay, So, Dr. Stevens, we'll look for you to provide us with the superintendent's report.
Sure. First of all, I thank Kirsten, as I mentioned, and thank you for putting this presentation together. I'd also like to thank Ms. Webster. Tomorrow, we will have our second mentoring session at the junior senior high school. If you haven't heard, all of the students in grades 6 through 12, 12th graders are mentors, but all the 6th through 11th graders are mentees, and they have been split up amongst the 12th grade students and all of the faculty and staff. And we will have our second session tomorrow, third period, and it's a little bit of a transition, but once they get to where they need to go, there's a lot of amazing things. And Judy popped around last time and took some pictures and saw some great group work and conversation. And we look forward to that continuing again tomorrow. As you know, both Evolve as well as mentoring were part of our district goals that we approved over the summer. And these are two initiatives that we are moving forward and making some great progress with. In other news, if you heard, the Blue Ribbon Commission through the State Education Department shared their recommendations yesterday with the Board of Regents regarding potential changes to graduation requirements, what diplomas could or should look like in the future, some civic responsibilities, opportunities for CTE pathways that could be slightly different than what has been offered previously. Again, all of these are recommendations, but it echoes the point I made earlier about changes in education and learning from what we've gone through during COVID and learning what has worked and what hasn't worked in education and making some adjustments. So as those recommendations become guidance from SED, I'll be sure to share more of that, but it's definitely newsworthy and noteworthy since it just came out yesterday. Here in the city, our company Bus Patrol will be installing stop arm bus cameras on our school buses, as well as any school bus that is consistently used for our contracted service. They have reached out. We're in the final steps of implementing, where they're going to set up time to install those cameras on our buses. So you'll see some signage that should be going up around town that will indicate that video surveillance is used, and to not pass stop bus sign or red lights on a school bus, because it is against the law. And that should be up and running in the next couple months. Just a little update. Last week, we had terrific attendance at WES during our parent-teacher conferences. The parking lot was full. There was a lot of families that were visiting with teachers. So thank you to Mr. Groh and the teachers for putting on a great session. This Thursday, we have report card night for the junior senior high school from 5 to 7. We encourage parents to schedule time and come in and meet with teachers. We also have our Meet the Coaches night for winter sports. Winter sports started this week, so if you have anybody that is interested or playing a winter sport, modified JV or varsity, they're welcome to join us in the cafeteria that night at 6 o'clock for Meet the Coaches. This is the second one. We did one for the fall. Decent attendance. We're hoping that this one is even better. We think that coupling it with report card night might assist, but it's a great opportunity to meet coaches. Some of our coaches are Waterloo staff, some of them are Green Island staff, and both schools are welcome to that evening to meet with coaches. Other than that, I filled out a little leaf the other day for a new bulletin board about what I'm thankful for, and knowing that Thanksgiving is right around the corner, I cannot stress enough how thankful I am for all of the teachers and support staff and every student, here every single day. And I wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Jamie, will you please provide us with the student council report?
Of course. Hi guys. Homecoming week was a major success. We enjoyed Spirit Week, a pep rally on October 20th, and the homecoming dance is on Saturday, October 21st, where about 160 students participate. The junior high students then held a successful Halloween dance the following weekend. The Schwanzek and the Cannoneer Club held a kickball game as a fundraiser to help raise money for those in need. Picture retakes were held on Friday, November 3rd. All IDs and picture packages from the retakes will be distributed once we receive them. The student lounge is open in the small gym. We want to thank all the administrators for giving us this access to this room for recognition of our hard work. Finally, speaking from students of Waterloo Junior Senior High School, we'd like to wish you a happy holidays.
Thank you. Same to all of you.
Did you say the student lounge?
Yes.
Can you tell me more about that?
Basically, for first quarter, it was just for seniors, and if you had like good grades, we would just go in there until you have good games in there and have like cross games and play. For second quarter, it's open to anybody who's just on the high honor roll, I believe. High honor. Yes. And yeah, that's
Not just any class, you can't like miss math class.
well, no, I believe it's a study hall lunch though, or lunch. I believe. So, thank you.
Audit committee, Mary Beth, do you have anything to add?
Yes, we have our audit meeting, is going to be December 7th at 6 p.m. We're meeting with Teal, representative from Teal and Becker. Yes.
And Heather, do you have anything for the policy committee?
Policy committee met October 23rd, and we discussed the service animal regulation. Upon further review, we voted to send it back to the lawyer with some further questions. What's that?
It's still there.
It's still there.
Non-knowing policy.
Thank you. Does anybody have any business they wanted to discuss this time?
Actually, I'd just like to thank Dr. Stevens and Brian Ford, the athletic director, for helping us out with using the field because we didn't have a lot of daylight time. And our kids, we were a 4 seed. We beat the number 1 seed in the other division, then we beat the number 3 seed, and we went to the Super Bowl, which we came up short. We lost 20-13 in Cambridge. But I just want to thank everybody for their support, and we've seen a lot of teachers there, the mayor was there. And the kids have a memorable Super Bowl to look at, and it kind of was a great season. But I just want to thank everybody for their support.
Anyone else? So with that, I will ask for a consent agenda on items 1 through 13, 15 through 29, and 31 through 33. Do I have a motion? Okay, Mary Beth? You a second? Victoria? Anything on the motion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, hearing none, the motion is passed. Item 14, resolve that the board appoint the following coaches for the 2023-2024 school year pending fingerprint clearance and fulfillment of NYSID coaching requirements at a rate as per contract unless outlined below, as recommended by the superintendent. For the Waterloo Junior Senior High School coaching winter, substitute assistant varsity volleyball, Beth Jones, with a stipend. Junior varsity girls basketball, Beth Jones. Modified wrestling coach, Peyton White.
Let me agree with myself.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Heather? I'll second. Anything on the motion? All opposed? I'm sorry, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, hearing none, the motion is passed. Let's. Item 30. Resolve that the board accepts with thanks the donation of 10 snare drum practice pads at 12 pairs of drumsticks from Eric Devlin to the Waterloo Elementary School Band Program, as recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mary Beth?
Second.
Okay, Brian? Anything on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Okay, and then that brings us back to board discussion. Does anybody have anything else to say? Couple things, if you don't. One thing I was gonna say was congratulations to the Waterville Youth Football League seniors on their recent success in making it to the Super Bowl, and it was nice to see the community really show up for them. They had a really nice pep rally that was put on, and I think it really, you know, a lot of, like Brian said, a lot of people went to the game, and I think the kids were really, in the community was very excited about all of that success, so. I also wanted to thank the PTA for hosting their recent events, including the trunk or treat and the Halloween dance. Also, I think there's books for bingo this Friday, if anybody's interested, and the next PTA meeting is December 6th, and it looks like breakfast with Santa is December 9th. On behalf of this board, I would like to wish our students and staff happy Thanksgiving and an enjoyable school break. Because there's no school, everybody likes to hear that, on November 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And then our next board meeting is December 12th. And then Dr. Stevens, would you have the music department share with us the information about the upcoming music events? Because I know sometimes they're looking for some support and they usually like to provide that, so we'd like to get that.
Sure.
Yeah. And unless anybody has anything else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:46.
I make a motion.
Okay, Heather? Brian or Victoria, will second. Anything on the motion? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Saturday.
No.
Redo your hair?